A quick disclaimer before we begin. Everything discussed in this episode reflects our personal opinions and experiences as educators. Always use your professional judgment and follow your organization's policies when evaluating and using AI tools. Welcome to Classroom to Code. I'm Nadia.
And I'm Noni.
We are two teacher moms in two different countries who somehow found ourselves building apps, learning AI, joining a Replit build-a-thon, and realizing that maybe we were never as far from tech as we thought.
Because before we ever called ourselves builders, we were teachers. We were already adapting, troubleshooting, differentiating, testing, fixing, and trying again.
This podcast is about what happens when teachers stop waiting for someone else to build the thing that they need and start asking, can I make this myself?
We'll talk about the messy parts, the scary parts, and the what am I even doing parts. And the moments where something finally works and you think, wait, I actually built that?
We'll talk about AI literacy, education, app building, design mistakes, accidental wins, motherhood, and what it really looks like to go from an idea in your head to something real.
And if you're listening and thinking, I'm not technical enough, I'm too late, or people like me don't build things like this, then honestly, this is the show for you.
Because we thought that too.
And we were wrong. Welcome to Caution to Code with me and Nadia, and today we have a special guest with us, Eiran. We'll be talking all about being delusional and manifesting and her business, and she's also been a builder for some time, and I think she joined Replit during the Agent 4 Buildathon. So Eiran, do you want to go ahead and introduce yourself?
Hello ladies, thank you for having me. Yes, I'm Eiran Trethowan. I am a vibe coder. I started building about 16 months ago, and my first build-a-thon was the Agent 4 build-a-thon, where I built a product called SoloBoardroom.com, which is for solo founders to have an executive team and a sales and activity platform that helps you navigate your business. Being a founder of 12 years, and I also have a background in 20 years in sales, advertising, and marketing. That all kind of came together. It was an idea that I had about using my pipeline from sales. Like I had a pipeline for years and years that made millions and millions of dollars for many different companies. And I used to use it at the beginning of my business, and then I got a little bit waylaid with it.
So
and I was like,
pause you for a second and ask you to define pipeline, just in case some of our listeners aren't familiar with the sales pipeline and what it is.
Yes. Okay. So in business, a pipeline is basically setting a budget, and they're not like the traditional at-home budget where you're budgeting your already existing money. With a pipeline, you set a budget for yourself, which is kind of like a goal, but we call them a budget. And the budget sets, so say your budget's $1 million for the year, you've got a budget. Your pipeline is something that you build in advance to make up that $1 million. And the pipeline, it's not made up because obviously I did a whole masterclass in SoloBoardroom for my users on this, and you can watch it in sign up today and watch the masterclass. It's $99. And that masterclass will take you through this in detail. But basically a pipeline setting a pipeline sets up the program. So even if you're selling, like I know you ladies sell products that are, online, and you can't predict what's going to come. But a pipeline would say, well, I want to get 15 users, and that's going to calculate to this much money. And I want to like I have a tech business that I build with Replit, where I build websites and apps and things. And I'm going to say, I'm going to get 5 websites to make this much money. And so you start to build out this like Delulu, funny, this delusional, like a plan. It doesn't have to go to plan, but what I find, it expands your mind. So a lot of the time I'm a coach as well. So I work with people starting businesses, launching businesses, and they're very much like, okay, I'm going to start a business, but then this structural side that SoloBoardroom gives, and that the pipeline and the to profit bit to build actual revenue, because if you don't have revenue, you literally don't have a business. Like that is, it's like you may as well just be doing a hobby.
Right.
So the money, we talk about money. This is how we connected, Nadia, was we're talking about wealth, particularly for women. And we were talking about how that money, building wealth and asking for money and setting budgets and looking at your money. Like women tend to not look at their money. Men don't either. I'm not going to put a gender bias on that with the general money conversation, but we do deal with money very differently, and we have been conditioned to not have these conversations. And so the sales pipeline, the money, the budgets, like asking for $1 million a year, like that's not in a lot of women's DNA, and you have to retrain your brain and your energy and your nervous system, because this is really important for women. Your nervous system dictates a lot of what you can receive, and then how we then build a business around it. So say you're calling in $1 million and your nervous system is like, oh my God, that's going to mean 17 more hours work and I don't have the capacity for that. You will not bring in that money. Like you will just block it energetically.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I work, and I'm a healer, I'm a business coach. I have a business acronym, a corporate background. So I'm very different in what I bring to the table. Yeah. So energy, I look at the energy, and the Delulu actually of business strategy is I have a different take on business strategy for sure, particularly for women. So they're not hustling. Like I don't live a hustle lifestyle. I'm not hustling for like sales. To me is you're selling transformation for the customer. You're not hustling to get the money. Like that's not in my vocabulary. I'm very much authentic. I don't sell something to someone that they don't need. And I've never been that way, like always been that way. So, like I used to be like, oh, use caravan salesman. Like that was the vibe that I used to always have in my head. Like, oh, you're being used for caravan salesy there. So I was like opening up and being really authentic. Like I sell through connection, and I sell through, for me, manifesting. So I will set, because of the type of manifestor that I am, I will set a goal and then allow the, divine to guide me on how and when that money comes in. Removing blocks and taking action, aligned action is very important, not just any action, aligned action to reach those goals. Hence why I built MoonLab in the latest build-a-thon and the Designathon, because it helps you navigate those plans in energetically with the collective, because that's often where we get a bit like, someone's putting demand on you. It's like, what do you do? So, do you want me to answer this question? Is Delulu actually
so I guess the
strategy?
question becomes, is Delulu actually a business strategy? Because there's a lot of...
This is kind of what me and Nadia kind of work like we think of a delusion and then we work towards it. So what's your take on it?
So my take on it is I am constantly pushing, and I don't mean push, but aligning clients to a more epic goal. Like you can call it Delulu, you can call it whatever. Like I have goals. Like when I first launched SoloBoardroom, it was like, oh yeah, I can see I could make $1 million here. And it was like, oh, and then all of a sudden I opened up to like, holy crap, I could make $100 million here. Like really lean into this. Like, and like that's the same, like pushing the narrative. Like, you'll hear make 10,000, make 5,000. Now, there is a strategy in getting your first sale. Like you need to get the first sales in so you feel the vibe, and it's kind of here. But having that bigger goal and that bigger impact and that purpose and tying money to it, that's the key. Left with like, I'm working in such a profound way, but yet not feeling lit up. And it wasn't until I started using Replit that changed for me. Like 16 months ago, I had a really bad scenario with a customer. This happens in business, but when you're so invested in their outcomes, which I was at the time, a lesson learned of how much to be invested in customers. But at the same time, it made me really align with, well, what would be different? And so I built my first app called Calibra GPT, which is an app where you can go in and talk about your emotional state and your energetic state in relation to what you're manifesting to raise your vibration, because that is very important when you're manifesting. Not high vibes. It's not high vibes. That's not what we're talking about. And it's not like thinking about like the thing, because if you think about it and don't feel it, you're not going to get the manifestation either. So there's a real embodiment
So
to the
what
process.
advice would you give to someone who, is just starting out, just like maybe a one-liner or a little bit of what would you say to someone who's starting out, but they're kind of in the space where I don't know if this is actually going to work. I don't know if someone's going to buy this. Where would you say to start?
This is the get Delulu bit. You have to have a little bit of belief in yourself. One of the biggest things I've always had being in business 12 years, and I've evolved my business a few times now, and businesses. I have businesses now. So the key is to back yourself. That is my first, like you have to back yourself before anyone else will back you. Like that was one of the key things. Like because I had my daughter 6 years ago, I'm a solo parent, so I had her on my own. And when that happened, even deciding to be a mum, that changed my energy. Like it changed the way I am. It changed the way I get money. Heaps of things
Motherhood
changed.
it transforms you in ways that are hard to
It's
understand.
transformation for sure. And I'm getting goosebumps all over me. Like it was like I just made a decision. My relationship status was not where I would like it to have been to have a child. So I just said, okay, I'm going to do this on my own, which look, is not an easy feat in itself. I'm very supported with family and friends, but there is that aspect of like when I make money, I have to provide and be the nurturer. And this was the biggest, and we face that everyone, even if you've got a partner now, because you buy a home, you need two incomes. You need, there's lots of things that have women be the provider. And I say that in a non, feminist way, but it's like, this is reality. Like we now have to provide and nurture and be present. And women naturally have an ability to be open focused, I call it. So we naturally have this ability to call in lots of energy and receive lots of money, but we have been conditioned to say, you don't deserve it, you're not valued, you don't have money, like you shouldn't have money, you don't get paid for the work you do. Most women do service-based roles rather than leadership roles. So in my beginning of my business, I've done a lot with leadership and stepping women into more leadership. And also myself, like I was in senior positions in corporate, and my limitation was being pushed out by a boys' club because they exist everywhere. And so my decision to build my own was swearing. Sorry, it was. I was about to say effort. Effort. Can I just say, when you're doing the Delulu, you're talking about the idea of I'm going to back myself, and a lot of the time you have to say effort because you get that move. You have to be like, you know what? I'm not going to care what anyone thinks. I'm just going to go with this.
That's a big
so
part
important.
of being Delulu. I think we need to define what does it mean to be delusional in a way that's productive and good and will move you towards your goals. And sometimes we're so stuck and limited in our own thinking that even understanding what Delulu is, in the context of what we're talking about, what are the limitations of that? Where do you start? And I like that part of being Delulu, and I don't know if that's even the right word to use, is to just say, I don't care if you don't believe it. Right?
Yeah.
Like
You've got to. So there's this energy a lot in manifestation. We'll talk manifestation that is very much held by a masculine energy, and it's called unapologeticness. And feeling unapologetic about who you are and what you do, even having this conversation, there's a lot of unapologetic in this energy field right now, because it's like, this is who I am. This is what I do. I'm authentic. I don't fit the corporate rule, and I don't fit the healer rule, and I don't fit the vibe coder rule. Well, there's no rule for vibe coder really anymore. So this is fantastic. This is what's opened it up, right? That we're just like, oh, anyone can be a vibe coder if you want to get really into it. We've all launched products, and we love the game. Not everybody's going to be a vibe coder. Not everyone wants to be a vibe coder.
Right.
But it lights us up. The three of us are the same design type in human design. We're all generators. So we're like, idea, move. Move. Like,
I think
that is vibe coding in a nutshell.
if you did some kind of study where you were
Yeah.
like, how many of these people are generators, I think that it would be disproportionate, probably based on what I understand in our community.
It's
Yeah.
about 70% of the population are generators and manifesting generators. So that they make up a high percentage of the population, because otherwise we wouldn't get anything done.
Right.
The world
That's so
needs
true.
them to get the world moving around. So yeah. Did I answer that question for you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I think the weirdness about money piece of it, this is what we connected about on X, actually. I think that's where the conversation started, was talking about saying how much you charge, saying how much you have earned, and without the shame that some of us women are conditioned to have, like whether it was done consciously or subconsciously, there's almost a little bit of it's kind of icky to talk about money, or it's, that's more of a masculine energy thing. And having to adjust ourselves as business women too, because yes, we are moms. That's a huge part of what we're talking about. All three of us are also business women.
Yeah.
So we have a lot in common. We're also builders. How do you start that money conversation as a woman? And what do you think is the root cause of the weirdness around it?
So I'm going to start with a corporate side story to this, because this sets the field for everybody else and what business is and how women behave in it. So often a man would walk into a room and ask for a pay rise without a question. They would know exactly how much they want, how much they could get paid. Like it's a given. Like they would just walk into a room. Women don't. We naturally, and it's so funny, coding was the first thing years and years ago that made sense to me about this. And this woman talked about women and coding. What used to happen, she used to run classes and she used to run teachings, and she would see the men would come in and go, oh, I can't get this right. This isn't working. Like they'd come in with their list of code and they'd show the code and be like, oh, that's the problem, fix it, move on. Whereas women built it, and then they'd come and go, what have you done? And it'd be blank. There'd be a blank page. She'd be like, what are they doing? Like, what? They've got nothing. It's like they've got, oh yeah, I haven't got to the answer yet. I haven't got to the answer yet. And she was talking about how what they would do. She said, I eventually got wind of it. And she said, and I started to go back into what they like, into what they built. And she said, do you know how many iterations there was of this product? Like they'd had so many coding options, so many options, and they'd done so many things. One was perfection that was coming through.
I was
The
gonna
other
say
thing,
that's a big piece of it.
yeah, the other thing was not being able to show that you don't know. And often that's the biggest changer. Like in all my whole career, saying you don't know is the most powerful words that you could
Yeah.
use, because it
Yes.
opens up saying to the universe, well, I don't know, show me. Like, I don't know.
How you
There's a
learn.
difference between, yeah, it's right. There's a difference between confusion and I don't know. Like logically
Yeah.
going, I literally don't know the answer. I'm open to the answer.
Yeah.
To the difference of being confused. Like they're two different energies.
I
But
think sometimes people think knowing it is intelligence, but intelligence is being able to identify when you don't know and when it's a learning opportunity.
And learn from it. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
not, nobody knows everything, right? How do you recognize and learn what you need to learn?
So relating that to money, women know that they need to be earning more. Like you look at the pay differences and that kind of thing. We know, but the problem is most of the time our lives, we never get asked. We never got told to say it. We never get that movement to speak it. And so in a lot of the training and coaching I've done, so I've coached women out of big companies to negotiate, because negotiation is like one of the most powerful things that you can learn. And it's the thing that's going to get you the goals. Because if you understand that you can ask, that you need to ask, if you're going in for a pay rise, let's just say, the biggest thing you can do before you walk in that room is practice how much money you want and say it out loud, because we don't speak it. And that's just traditionally, because up until a certain amount of time, we weren't even in the building unless it was World War II. Do you know what I mean? Like we weren't in the business running them, because
I think it's like women need to learn.
Women
need to learn to be entitled
before which is that's the unapologetic.
That's the unapologetic.
Be entitled.
Yeah.
Taking up space, saying this is 2 a.m.
I want to go to this because we talked about this briefly
Yes.
yesterday, about the words you choose and manifestation, right? And so I had told you a story. At one point, my husband and I were both students, and we didn't have a lot of expendable income at that point in our lives. And he said something just jokingly about, oh, we're broke right now. And I told him, I was like, do not speak that, even if it's seemingly true. Look, we're both on the trajectory. We're both in school. We're just pretty rich. And so, so that was like our inside joke. We're just pretty rich. But it got me thinking about the language we use and how that creates our reality. And I felt like, as somebody who, manifestation is kind of your thing. What do you have to say about the way we choose to speak about ourselves, our businesses, our futures?
I will just like say before you answer, Erin, is like I use it because Nadia told me about this before, and I used this on my husband yesterday.
Yeah.
And I was like, I can't remember what he was saying, but I was like, we're pre-rich. Because like what Nadia taught me, she's like, say we're pre-rich, and he was like, you're crazy, and I was like, no, you watch.
I would,
So now
I
I can
would take
prove it.
it. When you say this to people, this is the Delulu bit, right? When you
Yeah.
say it to someone, they're like, what do you mean pre-rich? Like, what does that even mean?
Mental.
Whereas I would get you to take it one step further than pre-rich, right? Pre-rich is still saying I'm not rich. So in the vibration, so Calibre GPT is an interesting, it vibrates you through needs, wants, desires, claiming something and becoming something.
So we're
There is a
already
you're
So
not
we're
far up.
rich.
You're in the vibe of claiming, right? Energy. You haven't
claiming
quite stepped into I am rich, right? So it's like you understand the basic needs are met. That's what a need is. A want is like still grasping energy in manifestation. So it's still like, yeah, I can want it, and understanding it's okay to want something. That's the where the desires start to come from. And then you desiring it is your sacral being lit up by it. It's like, oh, I'd really desire like, ooh, money, or I really desire, like, it's okay to say I desire money. Like it's most, that's a big problem. It's like, what do you mean you desire money? Well, I actually desire money. I want to buy things. I want to live my life to the fullest. And that
For me,
takes money.
I want freedom, and money will buy my freedom. And it's kind of always been that way, throughout history, is that the person who, has the resources is the one who's able to have control over their time. And, if you play it the
Correct.
right way, right? So
Correct.
for me, it's freedom of creativity, freedom of time, freedom of choice.
Yeah.
So Nadia just answered the question I was about to say, because this is, I can feel it's so funny because it started. I was like, I was going to ask Noni, what did you happen to with you and your husband? And then you go, I'm just going to tell the story. But I'm like, so
Oh,
the preempting of this is when you want money, you don't necessarily want money. You
yeah.
want something that money is going to give you. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Nadia, freedom. So when
100%.
you're in claiming money, like I'm going to claim a $1.5 million, I'm going to claim $4 million, I'm going to claim $100 million for myself. Like feeling that, like someone, if you're earning $50,000 a year and you're not even close to that, that's where the Delulu comes in. It's like
Yeah.
most people go, that's ridiculous. Like, why would you ask for that? Like, you couldn't, how can you ask for that? It's like, well, there's only a certain type of people that are going to ask for that,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
The Delulu ones. Now, that's where at some point you've gone through the want, the desire, and then we get to this place where we're like starting to claim, well, I can actually have this. And it's called expansion. It's like your brain actually starts to go, I can see that this is a potential for me. Living in potentiality as opposed to, well, this is what's in my bank, and this is what I have, and this is what I'm worth, and this is what the innate, like, right, making meaning about what's in front of you is where Delulu comes in. Because if you keep focusing on what you have in front of you, you will attract more of what you have in front of you. Because we're
Yes, that actually did turn my life around. When I was a teacher and I was miserable and making scraps and postpartum, and like again, my husband was in school. We didn't know how we had a baby. We didn't know how we were going to make it work. I read a book called You Are a Bad Beep Making Money by
yeah, I know, yeah, I know,
you know what I'm
yeah,
talking about? Jensen
yeah,
Sarah. I
yeah.
listened to it on the way to work, to my underpaid, overworked job, and I recommend it to any of our listeners. It's a very fast read. It sounds like somebody just talking to you, but kind of makes you think about the story you tell yourself about money and your relationship with money and how to start changing that and take the shame out of talking about it and being okay with it. And, the shame you feel about saying, hey, like, yeah, I do have a profit motive. Like, I want to be profitable. That's what I want. That's why I'm
Yeah.
creating things I'm creating. I just wanted to throw that in there because it is a
Yeah.
book that I've read 3 times and I swear it transformed my thinking.
Yeah, there's books out there. Like I've read one which is called Rich as F,
Yeah.
and which Rich AF by Amanda Francis. She's all about manifesting money and whatever you love, and she's amazing. And there's many somewhere it says I'm not enough. That's the work of opening that up, so then you actually think it and feel it. It's like, oh,
Yeah.
when I was a kid, this happened to me, so I'm not enough. But that's unconsciously creating 90% of your life, which is why we
Mm-hmm.
need to clear out our energy centers. We need to clear out that unconscious thinking. And that's where things actually begin to change and you begin to
Yeah.
attract
That's so
That's so
opportunities.
true because I grew up telling myself that I'm not good enough.
true.
I can't do this, I can't do that. I had to teach myself all over again that I can and I will and I have to.
Yeah.
But it's so true that you like unconsciously you have those thoughts. And it's so important to clear those away before you can have those positive thoughts. Well, those positive thoughts have got to stomp on those negative thoughts. So
Yeah.
I had to relearn all of that. I had to tell myself I can. The
You have
fact
to
that I've made
consciously do it.
apps out myself, like I'd never believed I could. Like me 10 years ago would have thought, you can't do that.
Yeah.
But you've got to really, really manifest it, and
There's so
it can
many things
happen.
that
It
come.
happens when you manifest.
Yeah, I'm here.
Not every opportunity is an opportunity. Not everything is right for you, even if it seems like it might be right for someone else or it's
Yeah.
beneficial. And figuring out, what's worth it and what's not, especially when we're talking about business opportunities. Um, how do you make that distinction? And how you said something yesterday when we spoke off camera about when you say no, you're making room for something else. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. So anytime you manifest and you put it out to the universe, you will be tested. It is a given. Like, but tests are about boundaries a lot of the time. There's different types of tests, so I'm not going to get into that. That's a whole nother podcast. But there's the way we're tested is through our unapologeticness. So if we say, yes, this is what it said for millions of years, this is how you run a business, and we're like, is that all there is? Like
Mm,
that, I don't want to run a business like that. I'm emotional. That's
yeah.
where it comes in. It's like women, we are emotive. So running it like a 24-hour sperm clock, we can't. We're not
Yeah.
physically built that way. And so all of a sudden, bringing a relationships and emotion into, which is why women make great leaders because of their empathy.
Mm-hmm.
That's another whole podcast. That level of connection is, that level of connection with yourself changes the way you do everything, including
Yeah.
run your business.
Absolutely. And I think it's
Absolutely.
interesting because your work sits at the intersection of, your mentality, how you're manifesting things, your energy, and also the really, tangible pieces of running a business. And I have that as Delulu and the receipts because they go together where, you're talking about revenue goals, pricing, how to get leads, how to convert customers, budget, follow-ups. And I want to, just for the sake of time, give you control of the screen and let you share with us whatever you want to share. We've got about 5 to 10 minutes left. So if you could just share a project that you're proud of and kind of explain the thinking through that.
Well, I was going to do Solo Boardroom.
Mm.
Go and check it out. You can learn about it. It's a great product. So it's soloboardroom.com. And that is where the structure sits. So that's an app I've built for structure. So that helps women get structure in their business to sit down and run their business. So it's an executive team. It's got the pipelines, it's got the activity, it'll help you generate the right moves in a business.
Mhm.
I then developed in this buildathon, in this designathon, an app called moonlab.app. Hang on. Let me just make sure I've got the right. Oh, yeah, here we go. So let me share, make sure I've got the right one on the screen. Okay. Oh, I'm going to start it from the start so we can see the pretty. So this is
Yes.
MoonLab.
I found this so pretty, this landing page.
Thank you. I've got agents just updating some things at the moment about the user experience as you come into this. But MoonLab is basically the other side of the coin. So we've got SoloBoardroom is the structure, MoonLab is the energetic frequency, emotional aspects that often, and if you don't know human design, we might drop a link below. Or just actually come to MoonLab, and there is a page here that's got about MoonLab and a little bit about human design. The evolution of this will be a bigger app that's coming, like it's already started building out. But MoonLab is a connection between, because emotionally, we all know women, we're connected to the moon through our cycles, through our lunar cycle, through the full moon. They don't say people aren't crazy at the full moon for no reason, because it's like you can talk to doctors and emergency services and they're like, it really is a thing.
Teachers as well. And Noni, I don't know if you've experienced this, but it was a whole thing where teachers in my school would be like, "It's a full moon." What?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a truth. The moon
Yes.
dictates our emotion, and the reason it dictates it is because it moves through all the emotional centers and gates and channels in our alignment to human design. So this app came about because I am a sacral generator in human design. Do you want to? I don't want to get too much into human design unless you guys want to ask questions. So ask away.
Because we've only got about 4 minutes left, I want to make sure we see your app. I would just we can have resources on the page. We have an episode page for everything. So if you want to share resources that go over it, we'll link that in or throw that into the page as well. So
you can head here as well into the about page, and there's a little bit about, this is the about page. This is what, there's a little bit about human design here and how the moon and motor centers and information works, and then what's happening with this app. So, and you can join my waitlist here to actually enter, like, get the information first as I'm building. But the reason I built this app is you can get human design anywhere. It's all over the internet. So if you want to find out about your gate, you can get a free chart. You can find out where what your type is, what your information. But for me, I am a sacral generator, and that means that I am moved emotionally, so through satisfaction and frustration. But unconsciously, I'm a reflector. And the reflector has a deep relationship to the moon and emotion, as do a lot of women. We just did Nadia and Noni's charts before we came on, and they have a few open centers. All three of us have open emotional centers. Now, that means this app will be your godsend, because when you have an open emotional center, you are affected more by the collective emotions than your own emotions. When your defined center, so these are centers here. So there's the head, the throat, there's an emotional center. Though when a center is defined or undefined or completely open, you are susceptible more to the unconscious. So this is what makes me a highly sensitive highly sensitive person. It makes me highly psychic, but it also makes me very susceptible to being taken off my pathway. So if I set a task to record a podcast and the moon is showing me that the gate it's in is in the head, say, and I have an open head, that's going to affect the way I run that podcast or answer questions in that podcast. Now, interestingly, today's rhythm, let's get into today.
I was going to ask, did you check today?
Yeah. So we were good to go. So every day, so this, at the moment, you can access this for free, and it's there. It will always be for free, this moon transit. You cannot, I haven't found anywhere on the internet you can get future planning for this. Most of the time, you just get in the moment information on the chart. So I wanted to build out the lunar rhythm transits through the human design chart so that you can see in any given moment what gate the moon is in. So what time is it? It's in my time zone. So it's 10:08. It's about to click over to 4.6. Okay. So you can click on that and it'll bring up information about that gate and tell you what's happening. So it's actually in the Ajna, this gate. gate 4. And so it's going to activate your concepts and thinking. Interestingly, we're here talking about concepts and thinking. So it's perfect because recording the podcast, it's amplified in me already with a defined ajna. I have a defined center here. And so it talks about, a gate that searches for logical answers to doubt and uncertainty. That is one of the things that takes us off path a lot. The point 6 is the lines. That's a whole nother session. I'm not going to get into that too deeply, but it does affect what the gate is and then how that line affects that gate. So we've got that information there. And then there's a thing called a channel. And so that gate connects to another gate in the body and creates a channel. And so that channel is doubt-seeking workable answers. Like literally we're sitting here saying, what do we do if we're this person? What do we do if we're that person? And I'm using my ajna and my throat to give you the answers that flow through me from the divine, from myself, from the whole experiences that I've had in the world. Line 6 right now as well, which is basically my who I am as a person. So the vibe of the yeah, go.
So sorry to interrupt you, but so anyone can go to this. Yours is moon-lab.app, and then so anyone could go on this and put in their information, and it'll give them all these details and explain it to them.
So currently I'm building out. So I'll just duck back here. So currently I'm building out the design chart so you can access the free chart. So that's being built as we speak because that's coming in the app. But you can run your moon print where you put your date of birth and it'll give you where the moon was at your time of birth and a little bit of information about that gate. That's like a snippet of what's coming. And so this birth chart's really going to impact. So what will happen with this? This is the free component, but the app actually is going to compare your chart to the moon and then tell you in a planner how to set your appointments, what to put in your business chart, how to when to plan, when to do strategy, when to do creativity, because the moon will affect all those things. And so because I found being very open, I'm often taken off path by energy externally. So if I wanted to say, I'm going to sit down and I'm going to work on my app today, and then all of a sudden I get frustrated and blocked and I'm like, why is this not working? And no, this is really frustrating me. It's because probably I'm not meant to be sitting there. Like I literally am meant to be doing something else and I'm not listening to my system that's saying, you know what, it's not really a good time to work on your app. Maybe walk away and go for a walk and get some air and come back. Like it sounds logical at the same time, but when you're in it and you're in the frustration and all of a sudden you're like, God, I'm so frustrated. This isn't doing what I want it to do. And it's like, oh, yeah, because the moon's in gate 6 and, we're going into gate 29. The moon's in gate 29 and it's telling us that it's in the sacral center and it's telling me that it's about commitment and that it'll have a link, like that's specifically, you need to get into detail, but it'll link to you because the moon amplifies that gate in you.
Okay.
Yeah. So interesting because so many people don't even know about design system. I had no idea what design system.
My question is, if someone wants to learn more, what is the best way? Because there's only so much we can cover, but if someone wants to learn more, what's the best way to reach you? What's the best way? We already gave, moon-lab.app. I see you have some tools on here to learn about it. If you want to share that before we close.
I'm happy to chat in my DMs. I was on X or on Instagram. You can find me on all the socials. So we'll put the link down there. It's if you go to it's moon_lab.app on Instagram. That's the Instagram handle. But if you just Google Eiran Trethowan, like there's not many of us around. So my name's pretty easy to find. We'll drop it below. And come into my DMs. I can send you where you need to go for your specific questions, or if you have anything, you can Google human design and say free chart and you can look up your chart. If you want that interpreted, I know people who do that for a living, like interpret charts. I can send you I know a lot of them, so we can send you to the right person for you. And also this app's being built. So we're going to be following us on Instagram and my socials. You'll start to see more information coming through about this for MoonLab in particular. And then I have my normal Instagram handle, which covers a lot more of my life than just
So we'll make sure that we put down your link for your MoonLab and your SoloBoardroom and your Twitter down in the description, and then hopefully people can find you from there.
Well, thank you so much for joining us today. It was such a pleasure.
It's so interesting.
Yeah, I really appreciate you sharing some of your wisdom and experience and all the cool things you're creating. And so I would encourage our listeners, check out the links, check out the page that we have on classroomtocode.com to learn more about Eiran and her work, and come back for our next episode. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks so much for having me. Have a good one.
Thanks for coming on.